was definitely disturbing, especially when you're expected to come and worship that day and then finding out everything's a mess.
St. Martha's Church pastor, Father Scott Carpentier, says he was getting ready for Sunday's morning mass when he got a call that the church had been broken into and vandalized. The aftermath is a trail of destruction around the building, with the majority of the damage in the rectory, with pieces of glass and statues spread across the floor. Despite the destruction around the building, Father Carpentier says nothing was stolen.
A church vandalized. Staff at the Holy Innocents Catholic School in Long Beach arrived to find classrooms, the chapel, and more had been ransacked. Statues were smashed, and the tabernacle also broken into.
Bishop Mark Trudeau saying he's never seen vandalism this bad in the area.
A heartbreaking mess to clean up inside Milwaukee's iconic Church of the Jesu.
They were all the ones who first heard the noise.
Father Michael Simoni says churchgoers there following morning mass heard loud bangs coming from the basement. It was a vandal in the lower church, smashing religious statues that date back nearly a century.
The Diocese of Brooklyn says the statue of the Blessed Mother was smashed outside of St. Gertrude Roman Catholic Church in Far Rockaway on March 14th. And then a week later, a person was caught spray painting another statue at the St. Rita Roman Catholic Church in Long Island City.
After Tuesday morning mass, Father Aidan McAleenan walked out of St. Columba Catholic Church to this, a 6-rock memorial fountain at the Oakland Church pushed over.
There are the six kids that were killed in Berkeley on a balcony about 10 years ago. Balcony collapsed. They had just arrived on a summer exchange program.
If that wasn't painful enough, Father McAleenan found more damage just a few feet away. Crosses that represent the number of homicides in Oakland this year broken and thrown into the road.
Most of them were strewn across the street and traffic running over them, and my heart just sank. The desecration of what that means.
Vandals also went to the side of the church to push over a Lady of Guadalupe statue, breaking flower pots and disappointing church members like Joyce Scotland.
That it was the crosses, it was the fountain, it was Our Lady, and they busted up one of the pots. That was take it to a different space, I think.
And that's just a taste of what has happened this year so far. Jesus did warn us by saying, if the world hates you, know that it has hated me before it hated you. And the world seems to hate the Catholic Church. Since May of 2020, there have been 563 documented attacks on Catholic churches in the United States alone. Probably more than that by the time this video releases. Arson, smashed statues, graffiti, and desecrated crucifixes are just the start of this ever-growing list. As shocking as all of this is, there is a completely different type of attack happening in our courts. Let's start with the kids. Just a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how adopting my kids brought me closer to God. I have been involved with the system. I know how much trauma these kids go through and how finding permanent caring homes is vital to their development. And if you look at the landscape of foster care and adoption, faith-based agencies like Catholic Charities have been the backbone of finding homes for abused, neglected, and orphaned kids for over a century. But over the last couple of decades, a quiet kind of domino effect has rolled across several states. In Massachusetts, California, Illinois, and New York, long-standing partnerships between the state and Catholic Charities were snapped practically overnight. The ultimatum was simple: place children with couples according to state mandates on gender and sexuality, or stop serving children. Catholic Charities of Denver had to quietly phase out their entire adoption program by 2015 to protect their integrity. The statewide coordinating body for Catholic Charities in Michigan had to shutter its operations entirely. This hits real people. Look at Mike and Kitty Burke in Massachusetts. The story goes that they are an ordinary, loving couple who applied to become foster parents. They passed every background check with flying colors, but they were explicitly denied because of their traditional beliefs about marriage. The system chose a political agenda over a loving Catholic home. The squeeze is just as tight in education. In 2022, Catholic families in Maine won a massive victory at the U.S. Supreme Court in a case called Carson versus Macon. The court ruled that if a state provides tuition assistance for rural families, it cannot discriminate against parents who choose faith-based schools like St. Dominic's Catholic School. It felt like a total triumph. But state officials saw the writing on the wall before the ruling even dropped. To bypass the Supreme Court, knowing this was a bad law, Maine quickly passed a new law. They shifted the final word on school admissions, conduct, and speech away from the parents and gave it instead to the Maine Human Rights Commission. If a school holds traditional Catholic beliefs on marriage and gender, they are locked out of the tuition assistance program. And this kind of thing isn't just happening in Maine. In California, public schools are now legally required to hide a child's gender dysphoria from their own parents unless they have permission from the kids, cutting families out of the conversation entirely during incredibly vulnerable moments. In Michigan, a new law heavily penalizes therapists and counselors who practice compassionate and traditional counseling for children experiencing gender confusion. Therapists must either validate medical gender transitions or face crippling fines and lose their licenses. Preschools are caught up in the crossfire as well. In 2023, Colorado launched a universal preschool program, offering around $6,000 per student to help families afford early education. Public, private, and faith-based preschools were all invited to participate. Sounds great, right? But there's a catch. To get the funding, Catholic preschools have to agree to affirm children who are gender confused by using preferred pronouns, allowing biological boys into girls' bathrooms and vice versa, and by having flexible dress codes that will accommodate them. For preschoolers, toddlers. For a Catholic school, this is an absolute non-starter. The state is essentially telling Catholic parents, we will help fund your neighbor's secular education, but we will penalize yours unless you rewrite your faith. The good news here is that the Supreme Court has agreed to hear this particular case. It's not just our kids who are paying the price, though. Let's take a look at the Little Sisters of the Poor. These are Catholic nuns who devote their entire lives to caring for the elderly, poor, and dying. Yet for years, the state of Pennsylvania has relentlessly dragged them through federal courts, insisting they provide contraception and abortion pills in their employee health plans or face tens of millions of dollars in crippling fines. These aren't just faceless organizations. These are men, women, and children who are all helped by these charities and schools. Kids who need homes, veterans dying of cancer, children trying to learn to read. And the people who so desperately want to help are given the option, renounce your faith or give up your service. What kind of decision is that to have to make based on a secular morality that is pushed so heavily by the state? But it doesn't end there. The government continues its overreach through lawsuits as well. In Minnesota, a librarian agreed to an employment contract with a Catholic school that stated he would behave in a manner which is consistent with and supportive of the mission and purpose of the church. The Catholic school decided not to renew his contract after they said he violated this clause by declaring himself female. He is now dragging the school through a lawsuit. In Rhode Island, the courts are attempting to micromanage what is said from the pulpit. Take the case of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops versus O'Connell. A disgruntled parishioner filed a massive class action lawsuit over the global Peter Pence collection. And for those of you who don't know what the Peter Pence collection is, it's an annual worldwide collection that helps fund charitable works of the Vatican, much of it going to help victims of war, oppression, like actual oppression, natural disasters, etc. This man is claiming he was misled by a Sunday sermon regarding how the Vatican invests its funds. Now, he couldn't provide any evidence like who spoke from the pulpit, what was said, or when he heard it. On top of that, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops aren't even the ones who collect the funds. Yet lower courts actually allowed the lawsuit to move forward, opening the door for federal courts to sift through Sunday sermons, entangle civil juries in internal church finances, and force the church to hand over sensitive communications between American bishops and the Vatican. When people read about these cases in the news, they often get lost in the legalese and the political crossfire. But when you look at the whole picture, from the 563 physical attacks on parishes to the legal warfare on our schools, adoption agencies, and sanctuaries, the reality becomes clear. This isn't about political talking points. It's about whether a faith-based institution, or a family for that matter, still has the right to exist as distinctly religious. If a Catholic school can't teach Catholic truth, it's just another private school. If an adoption agency can't operate under Catholic morality, the state effectively monopolizes charity. If a family is punished for raising their children in their faith, we surrender our children to the state to raise. If a group of nuns can't care for the sick because they won't provide dangerous pills that go against everything that they stand for, the First Amendment protecting our religious freedom means nothing. The government doesn't need to ban the church outright. It just needs to make it illegal for the church to act like the church. So this is your reminder to pay attention to what your lawmakers are doing and vote accordingly. I know this was a heavier episode, and I greatly appreciate you watching until the end. Please like and share this video if you found it informative, and subscribe to the channel. I promise, not all my videos are this heavy. Don't lose hope. In just a couple of weeks, I'll be focusing some on the more positive things going on in America. So, subscribe. If you'd like more information on these cases, I got my information from CatholicVote.org, which is tracking the physical attacks on Catholic churches, and also the Becket Fund, which provides counsel and legal help to those seeking religious freedom. I'll link to both of those organizations, as well as the links to the news stories from the beginning of this video. Our Lady of the Immaculate Conception, patroness of the United States, pray for us. Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on us.